A while back, I was watching David Blaine. There was an interview, and he's one of the best magicians in the world. He's held his breath underwater for record-breaking times. He's went weeks without food. He's caught a bullet in his mouth. He's done all. I put a sword down his throat. He's done all kinds of crazy stuff. And while I was listening and watching this interview, I found myself comparing and found myself thinking there's no way I could ever do what he does. I'm not used to thinking this way because I've finally figured out how everyone has different unique strengths and abilities, and they've just mastered their crafts or put in more time than I have. So it's important not to put people on pedestals. I've learned that, right? Not comparing yourself to anybody. But in this moment, I found myself feeling inferior and thinking there's no way I can do those things. And as I was thinking that, Tim Ferriss asked him a question, and he talked about what his biggest fear was. He said, my biggest fear is speaking in front of people. Being in front of 500 people on stage, I freak out, I get nervous, and I freeze up. And I realized that was something that I felt I was pretty good at. I love speaking on stage. I just spoke in front of 3,000 people in LA. I spoke in front of 800 in Mexico a couple weeks ago, and it was amazing, and I love doing it. So his biggest fear was something that I enjoyed and felt like I was pretty good at. And in that moment, I realized the importance of never comparing yourself to somebody else. They've just put in more time, and they've just identified and understand what their unique ability is. So this is a very important module and possibly one of the most impactful yet. This is not only going to make a massive difference on your future lifestyle and results, but your peace of mind and fulfillment. And the goal is to increase your results, increase your clarity and awareness, and lower stress and rid yourself of things that you shouldn't be doing or aren't good at. You would not believe the people who don't even think about their unique ability, or they settle before reaching new heights in their life and business because they never focused on enhancing the skills they were best at. It's not about working more hours, it's about working as effectively as possible. So before we dive in, make sure you've printed out the blueprint below. It's called the Know Yourself /Self-Awareness Blueprint. Print that out because we're gonna talk about it. So once you have that blueprint, don't look at it yet. We're gonna answer those questions in a second, but I just wanna share the importance of having your unique ability mapped out and then learning how to maximize enhancing it and then delegating everything else. It gives you a massive competitive advantage, and it's almost euphoric seeing somebody master their craft. But when you realize they're just working in their unique ability and they've put in more time than most people, it's a game changer. And real successful people don't put others on pedestals. So think about, who are you putting on pedestals and why? You ever notice how greatness never hates on greatness? Only the mediocre and only most of society seems to find a way to hate on greatness because it's tough to relate to somebody being exceptional at anything, right? So that's why this module is so important, is I want you to reach that top percent, the pinnacle of success in whatever you do. So the game plan is figuring out your unique ability and figuring out your unique value. We're also gonna dive into mastery of self-awareness and truly knowing yourself, the 5 keys to finding your real passion, but I'm gonna tell you why I don't really believe in passion and why there's something else that I think is more meaningful hidden in a passion. We're gonna identify your strengths and weaknesses, and then we're gonna give you a bulletproof, rock solid implementation plan. Now, the rookie mistake I see is people spend way too much time outside the unique ability and they move on to the next job, vehicle, opportunity without figuring it out first. So we're not gonna let you leave this training until you figure out your unique ability and what you're made to do and what you're gonna go all in on. The overall goal here is to start with your ideal outcome while basing everything off your strengths and values, then focusing on reverse engineering everything back to what must be done now, because there's 4,000 ways to get to an end result. But there's one optimal way when you know your unique ability. So step 1, we have to figure out what's most important to you. So I want you to choose your top values. We've done this in previous modules, we've done it in the 1-page plan, but I want you to take a step back and think about what your top values are. Everything starts with what's most important to you. And what's most important to me is different for you. What's most important to Someone else in your circle is different than you. So this is who you are at your core, because that's when you're the most happy, the most resourceful, and in turn, the most successful. You'll never reach the pinnacle of success, the lifestyle you want, the top 1% if you don't know your core values. So let's just simplify and figure out your top 3. Now, your values make you do things that are often not easy to do. You don't want to live based off someone else's values. Figure out what defines you and what your core values are. So examples could be, maybe autonomy is your value, flexibility. Maybe it's financial freedom is your number 1 value. Adventure, travel, legacy, health, contribution, giving back, family, impact, peace of mind, growth. Write down your top 10, narrow them down to your top 5, and if you could only choose 3 in order of importance, what would those be? Choose only 3. So now that you've figured out your top 3 values, I'm gonna ask you some tough questions. And answering the tough questions is how you dig deeper and figure out who you are. Because if you go on a journey of self-discovery, everything else in life becomes easier. And most people would rather do anything. They would rather act, build a relationship, learn, read, study, than actually sit there and ask tough questions. But you have to deal with it. Because if you don't ask tough questions now, you're gonna be forced to later, when it's usually too late and there's regret. So let's start with these tough questions, then we'll let you fill out the actual blueprint. Choose only 3 character traits that you want to be used in your eulogy. Tough question, but think about it. In just 3 words, what is your philosophy on living? What 3 core values would you want to pass on to your grandchildren? What are 3 qualities you'd want in your ideal business partner? What are 3 qualities you'd want in your ideal life partner or significant other? Think about that. Have you ever really put time into figuring these things out? Imagine your dream day, like your ideal day, the perfect day. Visualize that. What 3 emotions or values describe that experience? What 3 core values do you want people to think about when they think about your business or your life or your existence? Take time to answer those questions, but once you've downloaded the Know Yourself Blueprint, take some time to go through all of the questions. The majority of this module will be you figuring out answers to the toughest questions of how to figure out your unique ability. This took me years to figure out, and the key here is continuing to figure out your unique ability until it's figured out. Most people want clarity. They want to figure out their strengths. But when it gets uncomfortable or when it gets tough, they just settle and move on and forget about it. This is an until activity. We want you to continue to asking the tough questions, continue studying this blueprint until you have some clarity. So stop the video, download the Know Yourself Blueprint, and answer those questions. I want you to simplify, and I want you to write your biggest takeaways that you're gonna execute on right away. What were the top 2 takeaways from answering all those questions? So now that you have these questions answered and you have your top 2 takeaways, it's very important to follow the people who have similar values to you. Otherwise, you'll experience frustration, comparison, confusion, and incongruence. So the focus here that must be done if you want to live a fully congruent life and be in your unique ability is to unfollow people who don't have similar values that you do. So let me give you an example. Now, figure out who you relate to, respect, and get the best knowledge and wisdom from, and stay following them. But if their lifestyle is different than yours, and their unique ability is a lot different than yours, it's gonna be very hard to stay congruent. So let me give you an example. Everyone has a different type of character or a different persona about them, right? And who you respect is usually who you become. Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, is about hustle, hustle, hustle. Authenticity, yes, impact, marketing, no BS, but it's hard work, long days, weekends. He'll travel to a different country for a speech, and instead of maximizing his experience and going to sightsee, he'll go right home that same day. So he's all about the business, right? So Tim Ferriss is about flexibility, travel, financial freedom, innovation, adventure, pushing the limits, right? He values lifestyle and flexibility. Gary Vee values hustle. So based on people's core values is how they portray themselves to the world. So me, I'm family, autonomy, impact, financial freedom. I'm about knowing yourself, but I'm all about lifestyle more than just financial freedom. So Grant Cardone, for example, is all about 10xing everything. Real estate, a ton of money, power, influence, which is great, right? MJ DeMarco, who wrote the book Millionaire Fastlane, is lifestyle, autonomy, passive income, traveling, lifestyle, autonomy, passive income, traveling. So his values are different than Gary Vee and Grant's, right? So Marie Forleo, impact, lifestyle, family, travel, legacy. So you know who you relate to the most, but let me give you an example of the power of this. As I was coming up, I started realizing that I loved flexibility and autonomy. I got more done. I was more resourceful, more focused, happier, more fulfilled when I didn't have to do anything, when I had flexibility. Not that I didn't get things done, I just liked the ability to do it on my terms. So you couldn't pay me $100 million to be on someone else's terms or to tell me what to do and where to be. I wanna be on my terms. So I have a son now, and I know for a fact when he's 7, 8, 9, 10, I wanna coach his basketball games, soccer games, baseball games. I wanna be around. And if there's people out there that are all about the hustle and grind 24/7 and they're 40, 50, 60 years old and they're working 100 hours a week, working weekends, I don't wanna be like that. I don't wanna work 100 hours when I'm 50 and 60. I wanna spend time with my kids and my wife and family and travel and be able to work where I wanna work. So there's no purpose for me to follow people that hustle 100 hours a week. That's the difference. I wanna follow people who value family, value world class, value flexibility. Yes, I like financial freedom. Yes, I wanna follow people that are making 50, 100 million, but not at the expense of their family, of their values, or of their lifestyle. That's just me though, right? Hey, what's up? And thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this video and this content, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, put the notifications on, and I assure you, you'll love this content and these videos.